Continuing now with the Black Mesa hallway scene here. I'm going to do a little bit of unwrapping and texturing. I'm not sure how far I'm going to go, but what I want to do is I want to focus on the wall and maybe these pipes and maybe the floor. And that would be good for the time being. So you're going to notice that I've made a change here. Instead of having that little corner part, because I did some experimenting, and with the brick texture I was having a lot of trouble. Now here is the reference image, and you can see they've got it here, and I think maybe if I used an image map or an image texture, it could work a little bit better. But I had a lot of trouble with getting the positions between the bricks close to this thing, and it looked almost like double lines, and it just didn't look good. So I've changed my design a little bit. I think this is a better idea. I've also gone around and I've put separate materials on all of these things, and this is how I'm going to achieve a reasonable texture resolution, rather than doing it all together on one UV map or using UDIMs, or even worrying about having consistent textile density on everything. All right, so I have a material on the wall, a material on the pipes, etc. But I'm also probably going to use a checker UV material just to have a look at this, because I want to show you something. So I'm going to skip over to here, and I'm going to just hide everything except there's my wall. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click New, and I'm going to call this UV checker, let's say. And I'm going to make this 2048 by 2048. And I'm going to choose here UV grid. I'll leave that just like that. So I'm going to get this checker pattern here. All right, also going to come into the shading tab, and at this point I'm going to, instead of wall, I'm going to get rid of wall. I've still got it. I'm going to call this, say, UV checker, so we can put that material on whatever we want to look at. Checker. All right, and with the node wrangler enabled, I'm going to go Control T, and that's going to give me an image map connected to these two nodes coming out of UV. And I'm going to come over here and just go UV checker. And I haven't unwrapped this yet, and so I'm going to do that over here. Now, I want to show you something. If I just press U, unwrap, there's no seams, I get this. All right, and let's have a look at this like that. Okay, the squares don't look too bad. All right, but if I come in here and I Shift Alt and click to, let's go back to this. It's a little bit easier to see. Where am I? Here I am. 2. If I select there and I select there, Control E, mark seam, select it all, U. Now just have a look at the UV map here. All right, or the UV island. Unwrap. I get this, and I'm going to come over here, and now my squares are a little smaller. I think they're a little smaller anyhow. And so let's see if I can go back. Can I go back? Yeah, see that one versus unwrap that one. So I get a slightly better texture resolution. Now I don't know, let's see, I could try, I'm going to actually get rid of it on here. I don't need it here. I don't even need this standing upright, but I'll put it upright anyhow. I'll take this and I'm going to pack. Now you could use Blender. I don't want it rotation enabled. I'm just going to do that. And that may have increased it a bit. That's about the best that I can probably do with that. And that would probably do. You might think that there's going to be a bad disjoin here because I split it. And you know, if you were trying to put a decal or something on, you know, this part here to this, you know, you would have some problems with if you're doing it on the UVs here. But in Substance Painter with the triplanar projection, we should be okay. So why don't we take this, but I'm going to switch it back to the wall material, and let's just take that and bring it into Substance Painter. So I'm going to File, Export as an FBX, and I'm going to export Black Mesa, and I'm going to call this wall. I'm just going to call it wall test. Selected objects, export. Let's have a look at this. File new. I'm going to choose OpenGL, and let's go to, where is it? Export Black Mesa, wall test. We're going to open that. Okay, there it is. Next thing we need to do is to notice it comes in with the material, and we're going to bake the mesh maps. I'll do this at 2K. I'll uncheck ID, and I'll uncheck thickness and bake. And you can see the squares as a preview as we watch this. Okay, so I want to create, now I really would probably do this as a full scene, but I'll show you how I'm going to do this. What we want to achieve is we want to get bricks, something like this. All right, so I'm going to have a look at that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the material concrete. I've got this concrete simple here. No, maybe concrete clean, this one. Now, I don't know if this comes standard in Substance Painter or if I downloaded it or what. So let's come in here and see if we can get rid of scratches. Is there anything else? Now, this is just going to be the grout, so these black dots shouldn't really matter. And I'm going to leave it at white for now. I don't think there's anything else I can do here. That's so yeah, okay. So concrete clean is going to be my base, and we'll see. I might just have it as white, but let's go on. So we're going to work on the bricks now. So I'm going to add a fill layer, and these are going to be my bricks. And I'm going to make this a grayish color. See, because what we want is we want this. I think I'm going to bring in concrete simple into the material. Let's try in the material. No, I think I want to bring that into the base color. I changed my mind. So I get that color there in the base color. I'm going to get rid of the cracks and dirtiness. That's fine. Okay. Now height, I'm going to drag that out. Well, you're not going to really see anything yet, so let's go on and do it. So I brought the concrete simple material into the base color there, and I can still adjust some of these parameters. So let's add a black mask, and let's add a fill. And in the grayscale of the fill, I'm going to be using, I think I'll use the brick generator. So let's start typing in brick. There's the brick generator. You can start to see stuff here. Let's bring the histogram position up. You can start seeing it sharpen up. I'm going to go around 8.6 or so. The histogram contrast, I'm going to bring that up similarly. Okay, so that's looking all right so far. Now we're going to switch this though to triplanar, and you can see how they kind of straighten out that way. All right, so let's come down into the pattern. There's not that many parameters for us to check. To use, whatever. Okay, so now I'm going to change my bricks in the X and the Y, and I found that I'm going to use something like 10 by 6. Let's try 10 by 16. Okay, we do see a few of these dots from the underlying grout. It's kind of what I'm going for here. Let's turn that off. Okay, and do I want to do a little bit of this beveling stuff? Bevel in the X. Yeah, I'm going to reduce the bevel in the X and the Y. I'm going to go for 0.25, and we'll try 0.25 on this one. It just tightens them up a little bit. All right, and smoothness we could put at, let's try not 0.15, maybe a little bit of smoothness and a little bit of rounding, but not much. 0.08 something. It'd probably barely even tell that that's done. Okay, now let's come back to here and think about the roughness of these bricks. Drag it up, and metallic I don't even need. I mean, I can get rid of metallic if we want, just like that. And we have our bricks, and then we can just adjust the color. I mean, some of this is going to be based on the lighting, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 there, and I may not have 8, but I think it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 are half and half, so it's tileable. All right, so if I was to take this and put it on top, it would tile perfectly. After that, I think I would just add a general dirt layer. You can grunge it up and you can put all kinds of stuff on here, but that's not what I see in the image. And so I'm just going to drag the roughness all the way up and just bring this to sort of a dark brown kind of color. Maybe I'll make it darker, we'll see. And I'm just going to use the dirt generator. And you're going to see that's going to go into the corners. We certainly don't want that much. Sort of like ambient occlusion. So there are my bricks. All right, let's say those are the bricks. Now let's go back here and bring everything back. Let's have a look now at the pipes. All right, just going to slash key to look at this. All right, so right now I've got the pipe material and I'm going to want to unwrap this, and the way I'm going to do this, you could do one and just copy the other one over, and maybe I'll do that. I'm going to, in edge selection, shift alt and click and put an edge back there. Somewhere where it's not really going to be seen, although I don't know that that's going to be a problem anyhow. So I've added a seam there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift alt and click these. And you can copy those as well instead of doing it twice. And I'm going to shift alt and click those. Let's control E, mark seam. Let's come back up to these. And the way I like to do this is I like to grab that edge, and on the inside, control E, mark seam. All right, so I have this big N-gon there, and in my experience, that works fine for what I like to do. Maybe a little hard to get in here, but so we got that, and then we got to do the other ones here. So we'll do those two top ones. So I'll do the innermost edge that leads to that big N-gon in there. And that one, control E, mark seam. Okay, so we got that done. And then we're going to come down here and I'm going to do the same thing with the edges, those ones. And then it's a question of doing these ones. And I'm just going to go around and I'm going to select the top face. I switch to face selection. It's just a little easier than selecting the edge. And I'm going to come around, I'm going to select all these tops. Control E, mark seam, then 2 for edge selection. And I'm just going to arbitrarily choose any of these vertical ones. I'm not really going to see it, but then we'll have a look at the unwrap for this. Okay, just going around doing these. And once again, you could do one and then you could spin it afterwards. And, if you really plan it out, let's control E, mark seam. I think I've got them all. You know what? I think I'm going to copy this one over. Let's select all of that X vertices, and I didn't get them all. And then when we're done, we'll copy it over. Or you could do one and unwrap it, and then in Blender do it, and you'd save yourself you'd have better texture resolution, but I'm not too worried. Let's try just an unwrap. And that gives us that. And let's switch this over to the UV checker material. And that. Okay, so this is what we get. And what I'm looking for is just that I have relatively straight rows of these X's. It could be a little funny down here. And, that's all right. It's going to be fine based on the texture I'm doing. And, yeah. Okay. And you can also do average island scale, which may make a difference. I'm going to have rotation enable there. Pack. But I think I do want to have the two of them, and so just to have it in the scene, so I'm going to come in here and let's turn on the move thing. Shift D to duplicate. I'm going to pull this down, so I have two, and I'm going to take them, and now they're on top of each other, right? Substance Painter's not going to like that, so I'm going to unwrap, and it's going to be like that. And then I'm going to pack, or again use Blender to pack. So now I've got those done and the wall, and so I'm going to take this and I'm going to switch this back over to the pipe material, and so I'm going to select my wall and my pipe, the slash key, just those two things, right? And I'm going to create an FBX, and I'm just going to leave it on wall test. And And I come back over here, and I've done this. I'm just so it doesn't slow down too much. I don't have the greatest computer. I'm going to switch that back to 1K for the bricks. And I'm going to go Edit, Project Configuration, Select, Wall Test. Okay. And I still have my bricks, and now I brought in the pipes. The pipes aren't baked yet, so I'm going to come over here to choose Bake Mesh Maps. But I don't need to bake everything again. I can come over here and uncheck the wall. I've already baked the wall. I didn't make any changes. I just want to bake the pipes. So we'll do that. And you can see, again, the little squares. All right. So just have a look at them. And, of course, I can come over here and I can just solo those if I want to. I could easily do that. Looks okay. I get a little bit of ambient occlusion, I think, on the back. I think the interaction between them and the wall. But that's fine. You can turn that off if you want when you bake. All right, so there's the pipe. So we're going to get started on texturing those guys. And we're going to start with these materials. I'm going to bring in this rust. And what I'm looking at is this, which looks quite a bit like that. So I'm reasonably fine with that. You can tweak the results any way you like, but that looks decent. This is, again, just at 1K. And so, oops, so that texture is looking not bad at all. All right, so I'm going to move on, and I'm going to come back to my materials and search for aluminum. That may or may not be in your, in your library, but you can use any kind of metal that you want. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to make it a little darker. Okay. And I'm going to right click, add filter, and let's add, which one? Matte finish. Not that one. This one, this brushed one. I like that. I'm just going to change a couple of things. Scale is 4, but let's bring the brushing intensity down a little bit. And let's come back to here, though, and make sure we bring the roughness up a little bit. I want the rust showing through, though, so I'm going to add a black mask, and I'm going to add a fill. And in the grayscale of the fill, I'm going to use Fractal Sum 2, I think. Yeah, let's use Fractal Sum 2. So you can start to see the effect that that's going to do. And I'm going to play with the balance, etc., etc. I'm going to bring the balance up. Let's try 0.6 and the contrast. And now you can start seeing some metal with some rust coming through. And if you really want, you can play with the height and stuff like that. But I don't think I have a real problem with that. I think I'm going to leave it as is. With that done, I'll just leave the names like that. I'm going to add another fill, and I'm going to just alt-click color so it's just white. I'm going to add a black mask, and I'm going to use a generator. I'm going to do edge wear, metal edge wear, and I'm going to get that, and I'm going to drag this down. So I have that. Bring the contrast down a bit. Let's see. Play with the grunge amount, the grunge scale, and here, this curvature weight. And I'm just dragging that down quite a bit, so just get little bits of that edge wear in there. And that is kind of the effect that I'm going for. I can also adjust over here how much I want that, and I'm just going to take that down. And those are my pipes. All right, whether or not they're going to fit in the scene, I mean, basically this is what I'm going for here, and once again, it's going to depend on the lighting quite a bit. And of course, I am not up at 2K. I can bring this back up to 2K. I can bring the pipes up to 2K if I want as well. Let's try that. Okay. One thing I haven't added to this, and this is edges. Really, I should be doing this. I'm going to come back to the wall, and I'm going to steal. This is dirt. I'm going to take that dirt layer, copy that layer, and just paste it on top there, and then just go in and adjust as necessary. I do want some of that dirt going in to the crevices, and it gives that shadowy kind of a look. All right, and all that stuff I may adjust a little bit down the road. So save that. Let's do one last thing, and that is bring everything back. Let's come to the floor. Let's put on the checker material. Let's just come in. It's just a plank-like thing. Unwrap, and that is going to give me this. All right, and that's going to be fine. There's not much else I can do unless I want to rotate it in some way, which I don't. All right, so I'm going to call that floor, and that means I can take floor, pipe, wall. Let's just focus on those. I'm going to save, and so I didn't even need to put any seams in that. I'm going to export that. I'll leave it at the name wall test. Okay, we'll come in here and edit project configuration, select wall test, open, okay. That'll bring in my floor now. For the floor, I'm going to search for concrete. I want concrete simple. So I'm going to start with that. Let's just have a look at what we're going for. Something like that. Not going to be exactly like that. I'm going to start with that and come in here. I don't need any normal on this. Cracks, let's put at like maybe 0.25, just a little bit. And I'm going to change this to like an orange kind of a color. Looks actually all right. Let's try to get it a little bit more. All right, whatever. Let's see. I mean, that's going to be dependent in a lot. It's more yellowish, isn't it? On the lighting. So let's just go with something like that that looks a little bit off, like almost like dirt or something like that. Okay. So we've got that. I'm going to create a fill layer, and I'm going to leave this as white, and leave the roughness where it is. That's all good. Okay, let's go ahead. We're going to add a black mask, and I'm going to add a fill, and I'm going to try that fractal sum. Let's see, fractal sum 1. Let's try that. Get this powdery kind of a thing. It's 5, 0. Okay, I like that because I'm going to do something with that. I'm going to leave it as it is for the moment, but I'm probably going to change this opacity here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add another, I'm going to add a filter. And this time I'm going to use the warp. But I need to have something to warp it with. So I need a custom noise, and the noise I'm going to use is this anisotropic noise here. So watch this. Put that in, choose the source type, custom noise. Let's bring the intensity up. I don't know if you start seeing these lines in there. So I can rotate this around if I want to get it sort of a weird effect, just like that. And like I said, I'm thinking of just dialing that down. So we're getting this effect. It's not quite the same as this, but it's something that hopefully would look okay. And that's what I'm getting. Let's try it at 2048 and see if it looks too much or okay, that's my floor. All right. That is the hallway. In my mind, these kind of don't really match with the bricks, but I mean, this is what we got in the image. All right. I may tweak the bricks a little bit, but once we get a ceiling in here, I think, and the other objects, and we get into Blender with lighting, we can start to see what the final is going to look like. But that's where we're at. So let's save that. I'm just going to come back here, turn off the shadows. I don't need those. And we'll leave it at that for now. We'll come back, we'll unwrap the other stuff, and we'll do some more texturing. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.